warm welcome to everyone present here. I'm Asmi Jain and I'm delighted to serve as today's program coordinator. It is my pleasure to welcome you all to this FDP on systematic approaches to research paper writing, featuring the expertise of our session leader, Dr. Chanchla Jain. Today's topic, application of SPSS for data analysis, is a cornerstone of effective research practices. This event has been thoughtfully organized by the Research Foundation of India and RFI-CARE in collaboration with Shodh Malwa, Parul University, Gujarat, Eklavya University, JHERF, ARGA, and Edu Academic Inc. Now, please allow me to introduce our esteemed speaker, Dr. Chanchla Jain, ma'am. Dr. Jain is a respected author, research expert, and academician with over 11 years of experience in the fields of management and commerce as an assistant professor. She is the co founder of Urja Counseling and Training based in Indore and currently serves as assistant professor at the Prestige Institute of Management and Research Indore. Dr. Jain has chaired and co chaired several prestigious conferences, bringing her wealth of experience and insights to the forefront. With over 14 years of research expertise, she has published more than 45 research papers in various Scopus indexed national and international journals. We are truly honored to have ma'am with us today to guide us through this engaging session. With that, I invite our speaker to share her knowledge and insights. Ma'am, may we now please hear from you?
Thank you so much, Ashmi ma'am. Am I audible clearly?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Yeah. So at the onset, I want to extend my sincere gratitude to RFI for organizing one more time this FDP and giving me opportunity to interact with the participants on the title applications of SPSS for data analysis. So Ashmi ma'am, thank you so much once again. Ajay sir, thank you. With this, I think I can start the session formally, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So friends, I think till now you people are clear about so many things regarding the research after attending the previous sessions in this particular FDP, right? So now today is the day when we are talking about the use of SPSS in the data analysis. So starting with understanding about the concept of or how we can work with the this SPSS, I want to know few things from all of you before starting the session. Can any one of you tell me what do you understand by term variable?
Good evening, ma'am. Anything which is changeable is variable.
Very good. Thank you, Janakya ma'am. Ma'am said very correctly, when we talk about variable, variable means nothing but it is any entity, it is any object which varies or which is having the capacity of accepting any value is known as variable, means which is not constant is variable. So any one of you who can give me the idea about some of the variables or the types of the variables?
Ma'am, independent and dependent variables.
Okay, very good. So ma'am said very correctly. Broadly, if I can say, although there are various kind of classifications available when we say about the variable, but majorly when we talk about the data analysis, we need to have the idea about the dependent and independent variable, right? When I say the independent variable is any entity which can accept any value, right? Its value is not depending upon any other variable. But opposite to this, that is when I say about the dependent variable is a variable which varies, whose value is is depending upon the any other particular variable is known as dependent variable. Means it is always depending on the value of the independent variables is known as the dependent variable. For example, if I say the sales of a company, right, and the market conditions. So I think it is very well known to us when I say sales of a company. So it will be a dependent variable, and marketing conditions are independent in nature. So that means these are independent variables. Means what are the tax rates implied by the government? So a tax rate can be the one thing, interest rate can be the other thing. So there can be various factors which is depending upon the market, which can impact the sales of the company, the consumer behavior, and all. Right. So this way, these are the two broad what I can say, two major types of variables when we talk about the analysis part. Further, question comes how we can measure the variable. So anyone is having any idea how we can measure the variables? Yes. Any idea, friends? How we can measure the variable?
With the help of various constructs.
With the help of various constructs.
Whether the value of variables increasing or decreasing in that way we can also check.
Okay, fine. Okay, means two of you have tried to tell me how we can measure the variable. I think when we talk about variables, firstly we need to understand which kind of variable we are talking about. If I say weight of a person, so weight is again a variable because it varies from person to person, right? It's a characteristics. Variable is nothing but it's a characteristics or attribute, right? Which varies from one entity to the another entity. If I say weight of a person, so we know from person to person weight varies. But the other side, we can also know this thing. If I want to measure the weight, we are having apparatus or instruments available. Using that, we can measure them, right? But when I talk about the variables, like if suppose I want to measure or understand or maybe evaluate or examine the perception, attitude kind of thing. In this case, if anyone can tell me how we can measure these such variables, any idea?
With various kind of tools and techniques like Likert scale, PLSM, and other software tools available to measure qualitative data.
Okay, fine, Chanakya ma'am. So as ma'am said, we are using very tools and techniques. So when I say tools, tools mean softwares, right? Software is a kind of what I can say is a kind of helping a facility available to us. Using that, we can measure a variable, right? But before that, you need to understand there are certain measurement skills available in statistics, right? Generally, we are knowing them as a measurement skills. So when I say measurement scales, there are four types of measurement scales available in statistics, generally named as nominal, ordinal, interval, and the ratio scale. I hope people have heard about these scales. Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyone who can tell me what do you mean by the measurement scales? Or what do you mean by the first scale? Maybe the nominal scale? Anyone?
Ma'am, in nominal scale, we can only summarize the data or classify them.
Hmm.
That's we can't further operate anything on them.
Yes. So when I say nominal scale, it's a kind of qualitative scale. Generally, we can say it's a categorical scale, which can help us to categorize the data, right? So Chanakya ma'am said very correctly, when we are when we want to only categorize our data, we can use nominal scale, right? Say, for example, when we are collecting the data, generally we are asking the name of the person, we are asking generally the gender of the person, we are asking the marital status, education level, and etc. Right? So, in these variables, the name which I have just said, I can say gender is a nominal scale variable, or marital status is a nominal scale variable, because when I ask the person's gender, person will easily tell us whether they belong to the male category or female category. And that way we can summarize our data that these number of males we are having and these number of females we are having, right? So that way, when I talk about the nominal scale, it can only help you to categorize your data, right? Further, if I talk about the second level of the scale, which is known as the ordinal scale. So anyone who can tell me what do you mean by ordinal scale?
Data that is placed in a specific order.
Yes. Okay. Correct, Sonali ma'am. When I talk about the ordinal scale, so as we are proceeding from one scale to the other scale, every scale will be having the qualities or characteristics of its previous scale, right? So when I say ordinal scale will also be the ability, or what I can say is having the capacity to categorize the data. Apart from that categorization, it can arrange those category into a particular order, right? So as ma'am said, Sonali ma'am said that we can arrange the data into the particular order. For example, if I say I'm asking, say for example, I have asked about the rank of the students, right? So which rank you have got in a class. The student can easily tell me their rank. So on the basis of their rank, on the basis of their percentage, maybe we can classify them, right? And then we can say these particular percentages, if category, suppose I have said there, I have made a, student, those who are coming, or those who have scored between 40 to 50%, or 51 to 60, similarly 61 to 70, and likewise these percentages ranges I have created. So that way I can say, I can tell this thing that students can be categorized in these particular categories. Apart from that, there is a possibility of ordering these particular groups. So that way it is a ordinal scale, I can say. Apart from that, the next scale is the interval scale. Interval scale is a kind of a numeric scale, right? When I say first two scale, that is ordinal scale and the nominal scale, these two are the categorical scale. These are generally we are using for the qualitative data. But when we are having the numeric data, the remaining two skills we can use. That is the interval scale and the ratio scale. So anyone who can tell me what do you understand by term interval scale?
Uh, Equal intervals, I think.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Suman ma'am. Very correct. Ma'am said very correctly. When I talk about the interval scale, so in the interval scale, there is a ability, or there is a characteristics of the classification, ordering, and whatever categories you are making, there will be a equal distance, right? For example, always I take example of temperature. Even books also we can find this example very occasionally. So why I said the temperature, because temperature scale is a scale where I can say, for example, there are certain number of cities I am having. On the basis of their temperature, I want to divide them, right? So maybe I have made a slabs of temperature like 21 to 30, then 31 to 40, then 41 to 50, then 51 to 60, and likewise. Now I can categorize the cities in on the basis of their temperature or average temperature in those particular categories. So you can see cities can be categorized on the basis of their temperature. Apart from that, as we are having a slabs, there can be a proper order also possible. You can arrange those category into the ascending order or in the descending order. Apart from that, there is equal distance as well, 21 to 30. So you can take 30 minus 21, which is 9. Similarly, 31 to 40. So 40 minus 31 will give you 9. So the distance is equal, right? Apart from that, when I talk about the interval scale, there is a very what I can say, it's a drawback of an interval scale, or maybe there is a limitation of an interval scale. And what I can say, the lacking of the interval scale is that interval scales are always lacking with the actual zero, right? Absolute zero is not, we cannot find in the interval scale, because arbitrary we are finding a point and we can say this point is a 0 point. So when I say the temperature scale is also is having the arbitrary zero, because we know this thing at the 0 degree also we can feel one of the characteristics of temperature, which is cold, right? When you are saying that the temperature is 0, that means should not present, we should not feel even the cold, even or even the hot, right? But still one of the characteristics is present there, so we can say that 0 is nothing but it's an arbitrary 0. For developing the temperature scale, it was kept by the scientists, and that way the temperature scale was developed, right? But when I talk about means, if I take some other example from the real world for the interval scale. So usually if I want to measure the perception, behavior, attitude, loyalty kind of things, so in that case we can say the all these kind of variables can be measured on the interval scale. Because interval, when I say as interval scale, as I just said, interval scale is lacking with the actual 0, right? Means 0 is not present. Actual 0 is not there on an interval scale. That means the characteristics which you are measuring, somewhat degree of that particular thing is present there. So when I say I'm measuring a perception of a person, so I cannot say a person is having the 0 degree or 0 level perception, right? Because we know any person is not possible. She or she is not having any kind of perception. They will be having some degree or some level of perception about any particular thing. So this way, that is known as the interval scale. Next scale is the ratio skill. This is the last skill in the category, and this skill is overcoming the lacking, or you can what I can say, the lacking of the interval skill. That is, the ratio skill will be having the actual zero, right? So when I say ratio skill is having the actual zero, it is providing you a base of comparison. So once you want to compare, say for example, a person is having the salary of 20,000 and other person is having the salary of 40,000. So you can easily compare. You can say person A's salary is just half of person B, or person B's salary is just double of person A. So that base we can get in the ratio scale. So these are the four scales which we are using for measuring the various kinds of variables, right? Now, further I talk about when I say SPSS, right? I don't know how many of you have seen the interface of SPSS. I'll show you firstly the interface and then we'll talk on the SPSS. Okay, so I think I'm expecting an answer from you whether the screen is visible or not.
Ma'am, it is visible.
Yes, ma'am, visible.
Fine. Thank you. So those who are having SPSS, maybe they have seen the interface of SPSS. Those who are not having the SPSS, I have shared the screen. They can see this interface is known as the interface of the SPSS. Generally, when I talk about SPSS, it's a kind of quantitative analysis package. SPSS stands for Statistical Package for Social Sciences, right? Generally, we can use or we can apply various kind of statistical things using the SPSS, right? So, I belong to a management field. I think many of you will be from the management field, or some of you maybe from the some other fields, right? So management is coming under the social sciences, right? So whatever kind of researches we are carrying in the management field, if we want to do the any kind of analysis on that data, we can use SPSS there. But thing is, SPSS is not the only tool available in the market. There are various other tools, softwares available. Using that, we can do the analysis. Then question comes, why people are using SPSS? So the beauty of SPSS is that when I talk about SPSS, this is a kind of click and run kind of software. Means you can explore, navigate through various menus and the tabs, and from there you can select the appropriate test which you want to perform. That way, whether it is any field, means it is not like only in the management side we can use or we can apply the analysis using SPSS. Apart from some other domains, means apart from management, other domains also using the SPSS for their analysis, right? So whether it is the medical sciences or whether it is art side. So according to the thing, if you want to perform statistical tools on your data, that way you can take the help of you can take the help of SPSS. As statistics means, before talking to something else, I want to tell you one more thing, which is when I talk about the statistics is having what I can say the drawback, I can say, or maybe the limitation, I must say. The statistics can only deal with the numbers, right? If you are having the qualitative data, you cannot perform statistics on such kind of data. So that is why, if whenever you are talking about the SPSS, and if you want to perform statistical analysis using SPSS, so you need to have the numerical kind of data. Not always all the data should be numeric in nature, but some of the variables available with us should be numeric in nature. But when we talk about the, for example, if I talk about I want to perform the factor analysis and other kind of things, in that case, we need to have the numeric data. Generally, question comes that we are collecting, as I think initially some of you have, or one of you have taken the name of construct, right? So construct is what? It is a kind of latent variable. Latent variable means we can say it's a hidden variable. For example, if I say satisfaction of a person, so we know this thing, if I want to measure the satisfaction of a person, I need to ask number of questions from the person, right? It's not like that using any particular gaze or yardstick we can measure the satisfaction. So maybe we can ask, firstly you need to see for which particular thing you are asking or want to measure the satisfaction of a person. If a thing is tangible in nature, right? Say for example, you are talking about any product and all. So in that case, you can see the various aspect of that product. and that way you can raise certain of questions, number of questions from the person, and that way you can get some idea about the satisfaction level of a person. Similarly, if the thing is intangible like services and all, in that case, again you need to see the various factors and dimensions of that particular service, and such questions we can ask from the person, and that way we can have the idea about the satisfaction level of a person for that particular service or product, right? So this way we can say, way we can say that when we are asking the question, say for example, if I say about any particular mobile, right? So we know mobile is having so many features. For example, we are saying the display or the battery life of the mobile is good. So if you are saying this statement, you are asking the person is agreeing from the statement, disagreeing from the statement, and what? So maybe as again initially you said Likert scale we are using. So you can say on Likert scale, 5 options you have given, and that way you are asking, give your what I can say answer on choosing any of the choices. Or your question is, suppose the battery life of mobile is good, right? So accordingly, person will express his agreement on those particular 5 points, and after that you need to quantify your data, because this data is the qualitative in nature. So I think you people are knowing this thing. We can code the data, right? So when I talk about SPSS, using SPSS, you can code your data. So one application of SPSS is coding can be performed using SPSS, right? You can import your data in SPSS. It is not like you need to enter manually data in the SPSS. You can import the data in SPSS. You can define your variable in SPSS, and then you can perform various kind of statistical tests using the SPSS, right? Apart from that, generally we have heard about the cleaning of the data. If you want to do the cleaning of the data, you want to check missing values in your data, you want to check outliers in your data, you want to get a basic knowledge about your data, means you want to perform descriptive statistics on your data. Such all kind of preliminary steps you can perform in the SPSS. Second phase comes, now we are after cleaning and all, after testing all type of things, we are now ready for performing the statistical analysis. So according to your objectives and hypothesis, you can decide upon which test is the appropriate test, and that way you can come, there is a menu available in this SPSS, you can check this. In this you can get so many different tests which are available in SPSS, and which you can perform, right? So that way you can see these are the different tests available. According to your need, you can go there, you can select them, and then suppose I am selecting this one sample test. So as data is not available, it is showing me an error. So I think I'll take the data afterward, and then we will see how we can perform that. So this is about the basic layout about the SPSS. Previously, SPSS is with the IBM. So IBM SPSS generally it is known as. But initially, when SPSS came, it was launched by the SPSS Incorporation. But afterwards, it was taken by the IBM SPSS, right? Presently, 29.0 version is available of SPSS. The window which I am showing you, it is of 25.0 version, right? Now, I'll talk about the layout. You can see the look of the SPSS is very similar to the Excel, right? In Excel, generally we are opening a workbook. In workbook, there are different worksheets we can enter. But when we talk about this SPSS, you can see here at the bottom left side, you can find there are two toggle buttons available, two tabs available. First one is the data view. Presently, the color you can differentiate which particular view is activated right now. So the color you can find in the first button, data view color is little different, yellowish or maybe reddish. You can see it is depending because in the digital mode, maybe color can change, right? So presently the color data view window is activated. This data view window is storing the data, right? Means if you are want to enter manually your data, that you can do. If not, you can import your data in SPSS, and that data will be stored in the data view. Second view is the variable. This is known as the variable. If you are importing your data, that means SPSS will read your data, and if suppose your data is in Excel. So in Excel, suppose your first row is the header, means the name of the variables are written in the first row. So all will be copied down here in the SPSS. So all the names will be taken as it is from the Excel to the SPSS. In that case, you do not need to define them. But if you are finding that these are the names which have imported here in the SPSS are clumsy, are not properly readable and all. So that way you can make changes here, right? So now I'll tell you how to create a variable in SPSS. So I'll take one, two example of creation of the variables and we'll see some of the rules, right? Coming here, you can find I'm writing deliberately. I'll do some mistakes. That way, you can get an idea that these things should be avoided, or these things should be avoided by us while defining the name of the variable, right? So, suppose I am writing hashtag gender, right? Now I'm pressing a tab key, or maybe you can press enter key as well. So that way you will be shifted from one cell to the next cell. And you can find once I did this, it is showing me an error message, that is invalid variable name, right? So now I'm typing the dollar gender and then again entering, again problem coming, invalid variable, right? Now I'm typing ampersand gender. So again, variable name contains an illegal character. Now I'm typing one gender. Now again, variable name contains an illegal first character. So the conclusion is this: if you want to start the name of your variable, uh, you need to avoid certain special characters, right? You cannot even keep the number at the starting position of the variable name. But if you want to keep all these things in your variable, you can maybe add in between or at the end of the variable name. Apart from that, there is one thing, that is at the rate. If you want to start the name of your variable with the at the rate, it is allowable by the, or it is allowed by the SPSS. So I'm pressing the tab. You can see no error you are getting. So that means if you are starting the name of your variable with the at the rate sign, it is allowed. If you are removing it, even then there is no problem. Means a simple alphabet you can use here as a first word, as a first alphabet of your variable name, or you can use it with the at the rate sign also. So this way, once you have done or typed the name of the variable, you can find some of the fields are filled by the SPSS. These are the by default values. Till here I am clear to everyone? Yes. I hope I'm audible, friends.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
So shall I? Yeah, fine. Actual thing is, in Google Meet we cannot see the back screen, so I think it is little difficult to understand. That is why I'm asking again. Coming to the next, after typing the name of your variable, you can find the second characteristic is the type of your variable. By default, SPSS takes the type of variable as numeric, right? You can click on these three dots and it will show you the range of the types of variable available. That is numeric, comma, dot, scientific notations, date, dollar, custom currency, string, restricted numbers, etc. So usually for the analysis purpose, we are always using numeric as a type, right? But sometimes it happens, suppose you are having the name of a person, you are having the address, etc., the street number or something like that. In that case, you can select its type as gender as well. So once you are doing this gender and once you are pressing on OK, you can say it has changed from numeric to string, right? I think it is simple. Is it fine? Shall I?
Ma'am, what is mean by string over here?
String means the character data. For example, uh, suppose I'm taking one more variable, that is age, right? Now you can see I'm coming in a data view. Whatever names you have defined, these will be becoming in the data view as the heading of your columns, right? In the gender, if I'm typing male, right? Coming here, I'm typing female, is okay. Fine, as these are known as string, means character data. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Once I'm coming in a age, suppose I have asked the age, you belong to the young category, old category, or middle age category, right? And if suppose mistakenly I have defined its type as numeric, right? Now coming in the data view, if I want to type here young, Y-O-U-N-G, I'm typing. You can see once I'll go to the next cell, the previous one has disappeared. Why so? Because its type is numeric. So it will not accept the string or the character or the alphabets. Is it okay? If I'll type here 1, type here 2, this will be taken by the SPSS. Is it okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, coming to the next column, named as or next characteristics, which is width. Generally, the use of this width is in case of the string data because it is restricting the entry of the number of characters or number of alphabets, right? For example, I'm taking a new variable named as name, right? Now, I firstly, name cannot be a numeric variable. Name is like, we know generally, name is containing the alphabets, right? Coming here and in the data view, I'm want to type the name. Suppose I'm writing Niranjana. So you can see Niranjan. After this, I want to put A. I'm typing A, but it is not taking. Reason is very simple because in the variable view, I have restricted this to accept only 8 characters, right? So I'll come here and using this drop down, I can increase the width, right? Similarly, if you will use this drop down, you can decrease the width. Is it clear? Now I'll come back and suppose now I'm writing Niranjana Sastri. So I did that. So again, that way you can define. Is it clear? Fine. Clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Now coming to the next, which is decimals. So by default, you can see for the string, it will obviously, there is no role of the decimal point in case of the string data. But when you talk about the numeric data, depending which kind of numeric variable you are having, whether it is an integer or whether you can express that in a decimal point also, whether it is a float variable, right? So if suppose I talk about age, generally we are asking the age of a person. So persons are saying I'm 25-year old, I'm 30-year old, likewise, right? So if that is the case, generally we can avoid these decimal points using this top and bottom arrow. We can decrease the decimal points. So 0 meaning you can see previously I entered it was 1.00, 2.00, but when once I have set it as 0, it has become 1 and 2 only, right? Is it clear? Decimal is clear? Shall I proceed? Okay, I hope I'm audible, friends. Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now I'll talk about the next, that is label. I think it is clear when I said name. One more restriction I want to show you. For example, here I want to write gender of respondent, right? So I have written this. Now I'm pressing the tab or maybe enter. So you can see it is showing me variable name contains an illegal character. Means if you want to put more than one word in the name of your variable, you need to either use the underscore or period, that is a dot sign. So both I am using simultaneously to show you that both can be acceptable by the SPSS. Now you press enter or maybe tab, you can see no error you are getting, but it is not looking good. Or maybe if you are keeping same or maybe keeping underscore same at both the places, so it is okay. But I think it is not looking good, right? So what I'll do, I'm removing. So meaning is this: if you want to define your variable name using more than one word, rather than doing writing the name of the variable here, you can use this label, because in label there is no restriction. If I'm writing gender of respondent, you can see no error is given by the SPSS to me. right? And easily I can detail write the detailing anything whatever in my mind for my variable that I can define in the label section. Is it okay? Is it fine? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Now talking about the values. Values meaning is if you are having the coding kind of thing, if you have coded your data, right? So firstly I'm making the numeric gender as numeric variable. Stop. Yes. Now I'll tell you the meaning of these values and label. So I have clicked on these three dots. This window or this box will be open. Here I need to define. Suppose I have given a coding as 1 and 2. So suppose I have given 1 to the male category, right? So I have defined value is 1 and the label is male. I'm clicking on the add button. Now second is the 2 and the label is female. I'm clicking on add button. And then once you will click on the OK button, this will be defined here, right? So if suppose in the data view, I have written 1, 1, 2, 1 like this. So the meaning is you can see here in this particular bar, there is an icon A1, 1A, right? So once I'll click on this, you can see it is showing me the label. If I'll click on this, it is showing me the value, right? Visible, clear? Clear to everyone? Yes. Is it fine, everyone? Please say something.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now we'll go again to the variable view. Now after this, there is one more characteristics available named as missing. In the missing, you can see when I talk about SPSS, there are two types of missing. First missing is known as system defined. Second missing is known as the user defined, right? Firstly, we will understand the concept what is system defined missing value. So you can find in the data view, gender I have mentioned for the some of the respondents, but for some of the respondents, age is not defined yet, right? So you can find these are the dot periods and we can see. So these are nothing, but these are the missing values or the system defined missing value. Means this SPSS system is not having these values available with it, right? That is why these are showing as the period or the dots, right? In the variable view, this missing is for the user defined missing value, right? So this concept you need to understand very carefully. When I talk about the SPSS, user defined missing value meaning is we being a user, we ourselves can define that this should be missed from my data, right? Generally question comes why we will do this, right? For example, means many of the academicians generally what they do, they generally collect data set once and for maybe one or two paper they are using the same data sets, right? So it happens suppose for example some of the I have taken so many different age groups in my data, right? But I only want to keep presently I want to analyze only few of the categories in my first research paper, right? So some of the or maybe a few of the remaining I do not want to include in my analysis. What I can do, I'll come here, right? And I'll click on the dots, you can find here it is showing me the missing values dialog box. So by default you can see SPSS is not taking anything as a missing, you know. So no missing values is by default selected. Apart from that, there are two options, discrete and the range. Suppose I'm coming in a discrete. Suppose I asked or I collected the data from the people and my age groups are 18 or maybe 21 to 30, 31 to 40, 41 to 50, 51 to 60, and above 60. So, for example, for my first paper, I want to only compare two categories, maybe 21 to 30 and 31 to 40 only, might be, right? So, remaining I want to keep or I don't want to I don't want to allow SPSS to include the remaining three categories. So I have coded my data. The persons who I have opted as a 21 to 30 age group, I have given the code as 1. 31 to 40, code 2. 41 to 53, 51 to 64, and above 60 is 5. Right? So as I said, I only want to compare first and second age group only. So once I am coming here in the discrete missing value, I have written 3, 4, and 5. So in my data, if I coded 3, 4, and 5 for any of the respondent, those respondents' data will not be included in my analysis. This is the meaning, right? Coming to the next option, range plus one optional discrete missing value. Rather than giving the age groups to the respondent, suppose you are directly asking what is your age. In that case, person has to tell you the date of the age of the person. For example, 45 years, 60 years, something like that. So in the scrutiny of my data, I have found some of the persons, those who are belonging to the suppose higher age group. I do not want to include, or my study is not including, or is not concentrating on those particular persons' responses. So what I can do, I suppose I do not want to include the persons those who are above 60. So I have suppose I have written here 60 to suppose 80, right? Whatever is the maximum age I have found, that I can define here. So from 61 to 80, whosoever person's ages are, or whosoever persons are belonging to this particular band, their data will not be included by SPSS. And this discrete value is missing. Apart from this, suppose there is a person, student, or maybe child who is of the age 15 and he has also filled my data, my questionnaire. So I can define this as that one discrete value. So this way, his data or her data will also not be included in my analysis. Once I'll press on OK, this will be fed or saved in the memory of SPSS. And once you will perform any of the analysis using the age, so the persons whose age is between 61 to 80 and the 15 years, their data will not be included in the analysis. Is it clear? Yes. Is it clear, friends? I think you people are listening to me.
Yes, clear.
Okay, fine. Thank you, sir. Coming to the next, talking about the columns. By default, column is nothing. By default, this value is 8. Meaning of this is you can come in the data view and see I am stretching my name column, right? Now I'll show you in the variable view. Its value is now 11. By default, it was 8, right? But now it is coming 11. So this is showing me how many characters I can see at a time, right? So this is only for the beautification purpose. Alignment, we all know, we all are working in the Word or and the Excel, etc. So we know the meaning of this alignment, how how you want to align your data in the spreadsheet or in the data view of the SPSS. So by default, for the numeric data, the alignment is the right alignment, and for the string data, the alignment is the left. But if you want to make changes in this, you can click on this, and that way you can select whatever type of alignment you want for your data. Next one is the measurement scale. Measurement scale is a very important part. You need to, I think we have understood the concept at the starting of the session. So as I said, we have discussed there are 4 measurement scales named as nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. But when we talk about the SPSS, once you will click on here, you can find there are only 3 scales available: nominal, ordinal, and the scale. So meaning is, if your variable is of interval or the ratio scale nature, you can set its measurement type as scale, right? For numeric data, you can set it as scale. For categorical data, if you can only categorize, that will be the nominal scale data. If you can arrange category in a particular order, that will be the ordinal data. Is it clear to everyone? Is it fine, everyone? Okay, I hope you are listening to me. Naming part is clear to everyone, how to define variable name.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. Now we'll see how to bring data in SPSS. So the next application of SPSS, we can import the data also in SPSS. So how we can import? So there are various options available. The first one is you need to go to the file menu, So here once we will go, you can see once I clicked on this, our drop down is coming. From there you need to click on the open. In the open, I'm selecting the data. So file, then open, and then data. Once I'll click on this, I'll be landed on the open data dialog box, right? At the starting, at the initial stage, you can find there is an option called lookin. Lookin means nothing, but you need to set the location of your data in your desktop or in your device where the data is situated, where the data is located. That particular location you need to set here, right? So suppose I am selecting the appropriate destination of my data. See, suppose I have selected an appropriate folder from where I want to pick the data. Now, what I need to do, just a minute. Yeah. Now, what you need to do, under the files of type, you can see here the .sav extension is selected. So using this drop down, I can change it. I am selecting the Excel file, right? So I'm selecting these extensions. So whatever files in my folder is with this particular extension now will be shown to me, right? So suppose I'm clicking on this file, I selected this file, and now I need to click on the open. So once I'll click on this open, in few seconds, one more dialog box will coming, which is this is a read Excel file dialog box, right? Here you can find, here it is showing me worksheet. So you can click on this drop down. So whatever number of worksheets will be available in your workbook, all will be shown to you. In my case, only one worksheet was there. So if you are having multiple worksheets, so using this drop down, you can select the appropriate sheet on which you want to work. Or else, if you want to select a particular range, that also you can define here. Apart from that, you can see the variable view or the preview of your data is shown to you. If you are okay with this, you can click on the OK button, and that way your data will be imported in the SPSS data view. Is it clear? Is it okay? Shall I proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now, this was the first way I have shown you. Second way is below to the file, you can find there is an icon, which is the open data icon. Once you will click on this, you will be landed on the open data folder, the same which we have found from the file, right? So here also the process is same. Set the location, set the type of file you want to pick, and then you can select and click on the open, right? Apart from that, the third way is you can again click on the file. You can now click on the import data. So this is clearly showing you if you want to import Excel file, CSV file, text file, stata file, dbase file, lotus file, whatever type of file you want to import in the SPSS environment, you can select that. Suppose I selected this. So again, the same dialog box will appear. You need to set the location, you need to select the file and click on the open. So that way, that type of data will be imported in your SPSS file. I think it is clear to everyone how to import data.
Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So
Yes, ma'am.
after, yeah, thank you everyone. Those who are responding, very good. Thank you. Now you can see after importing of your data, you can do a very basic kind of things on your data, right? So initially, as we know, generally we need to perform the cleaning kind of steps on the data, right? We want to see the basic or the descriptive statistics for the data that we can do. Apart from that, if we want to perform certain kind of transformation on the data, that is also possible in SPSS to do, right? So if suppose you can see in my case, I need to check this just a minute. Yeah, you can see this. I'm having the in the T. I can see there are 4 categories: 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Suppose I'm coming in a variable view. Using this label and values, I want to define 1. Suppose One is for the lemon tea, right? Two. Two is for the green tea. Three. Three is for the plain tea. Four. Four is for the, suppose, masala tea. And then click on OK. So these are the
Ma'am,
four. Yes.
of ma'am, the screen is not visible of T that you are teaching.
Is it? What about the other persons?
Okay. Uh,
Yes, ma'am, it is not visible, ma'am.
Okay. Okay. Anyone who can confirm me with the yes can means they are able to see my screen.
Ma'am, we can see it, ma'am, but there is no changes that happens on the sheet that you are typing on.
yes, ma'am. Same problem.
Uh, are you able to see the T sheet? No.
No, ma'am.
No,
Uh,
ma'am.
watching a view
Just
in with
again I'm sharing. Wait a minute. Again I'm sharing. Visible?
Yes, ma'am. Now it is visible, ma'am.
Okay.
yes, ma'am.
Now
Now it
you
is.
can, yeah. Now you can see what I did. I came to the variable view. In the variable view, under the values, right? I have clicked on these three dots, and then you can find I have defined here the value and labels. Suppose for the value 1, I defined the lemon tea. For 2, I have written the green. For 3, plain. And for 4, masala. I have typed here 1, right? And then in the label, I have typed that name like lemon, etc. So this way, I have defined the value and label. After this, I pressed on the OK button. Till here, everyone is okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Now I'll tell you transformation of my data, right? How I can transform this T column. So suppose I want to now I want to group. Rather than keeping 4 categories, I want to only keep the 2 categories in the T, right? So suppose I want to merge the first two, that is green and lemon, in a one category, and the masala and plain in the other category, right? So I'll go to this transform tab. There I'll click on the two options are available: record into the same variables and record into the different variables, right? So record into the same variable meaning is what? It will replace your existing variable, and whatever the new transformation you will perform on your data, that will be replaced, right? Or the previous will be replaced by the new transformation. Second one is record into the different variables. That means it will keep your original data as it is, and then it will create a new column for the new transformation. So usually, rather than what I can say, replacing the original data, you generally keep the original data as it is, and you recorded data you can store in the some other variable or in some other column. So I'll go with the record into the different variables, right? This is the logic. So that is why I generally go for the record into the different variables. Now in this particular dialog box, you need to shift whatever you want to code. So I want to code my T variable, right? So I'm shifting this T here in the next box using this arrow key. After this, in the output, in the next, at the extreme right, you can find there is one more section which is output variable. I want to give the name to my output variable, the new variable which I want to transform using my T variable. Suppose I'm writing T1, right? Is it okay? And if I want to write the label also, I can write new T variable, and then I'll click on the change. So this way now my T variable will be coded as a T1. Is it okay? Is
Yes,
this
ma'am.
fine? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Now I'll click. Yeah. Now I click on this old and new values. So the one more dialog box will appear, right? In the old value in this particular section, suppose my old value was 1, and I want to keep the lemon tea in the first category only. So I have written here 1, right? I'm clicking on the add. So 1 will be coded as 1 only. Second old value was the 2. I want to keep this also in the first category. So I have coded at a new value as a 1 and I'm pressing on 2. So now 2 will be coded as 1. Now the third category was the 3 and I want to code this into the or keep this into the second category. I'll click on add. Then 4 and here it will be 2 and then add. So previously we were having total 4 categories of the T. So first and 2 I have kept in the first category and 3 and 4 I kept in the second category. Is it okay? Fine.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And now I'll press on the continue button. Now nothing you need to do. You can press on the OK button. So you would be able to see SPSS. This is known as the output viewer. Output viewer meaning is whatever the analysis you will perform on your SPSS, the output of the same will be shown in the output viewer. So this is showing me the message. The coding has been performed. 1 equals to 1, 2 equals to 1, 3 equals to 2, 4 equals to 2. Right? Now I want to see the results. So I can go to my this data editor. Right? Here you can see the new variable created by the SPSS named as T1, which we have already given there. Now in the variable view, you can see the label is there, right? Now I can make this decimal as 0 and I can define here. Suppose I have written 1. This is your category 1. I add it and 2 is the category 2. And clicked on OK. Done. Now you can see green was in a category 1, masala was in a category 2, masala category 2, lemon category 1, green category 1, plain category 2. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is one way, means this is again one of the application of SPSS, that transformation of the data is also possible in the SPSS. Now the next is, after this, means this is the one thing I have shown you. Now I'll take one more variable here. Suppose I'll come to the variable view, right? Suppose I am having some of the questions on Likert scale, which is measuring the same thing. So I have created 3 more variables. So for making you understand, only few values I am entering here, right? Is it okay? Not all values, but few values I'm entering. Done? Is it okay? Manually, I entered few values. I want to show you few more things. Is it okay?
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, yeah, decimal points I'm making 0. In this section, I'm supposed defining 1 is for the strongly disagree, right? 2 is for the disagree. 3 is for the neutral. 4 is for the agree. 5 is for the strongly agree. Likewise, you can define in the below questions also. This is only for the sake of your understanding. I have defined this. Now, generally we know if we are asking the Likert scale questions, I am not much sure about how many of you are performing statistical analysis and what up to what level you are performing. But usually I'm talking about factor level or factor analysis and above that. If suppose you are measuring a particular construct or the dimension using 3 questions, right? So we know this thing, we need to take either its sum or the average to define or to show that particular vector or variable, right? So for example, these 3 questions are related to one factor or one dimension, right? I want to take an average of this. So how I can do this? We'll go to the transform and we'll click here on the compute variable section. Now here, Target variable, the new variable I want to compute here. So suppose my variable is factor 1. Suppose I have given this name, right? Now, I'll just a minute. I think mean will be available here. So I'm clicking the statistical functions. Yeah, mean is there. So I'll shift mean. You have seen I have selected this mean, and using this arrow key, I shifted this in the numeric expression box. Now I'm shifting Q1. Then after the comma, I need to shift Q2. Then I need to shift Q3. Done? Simple. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Once I'll click on OK, you can see the message is coming. Compute factor 1 mean of Q1, Q2, and Q3. This is executed. We will see this in our file. Now you can see this is the average. Done? Okay, friends. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so some of the basic things I have shown you. Now we will talk about the descriptive statistics. Suppose we'll go to the analyze. Descriptive statistics, anyone can tell me why we are performing descriptive statistics? Anyone? Anyone? What do you mean by descriptive statistics? Anyone? Yes, I'm waiting. Yes or no, so that we can proceed.
No, ma'am. Please explain it, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fine. When I talk about descriptive statistics, this is a very means after cleaning and transformation of our data, this is the first thing which we are performing on the data. Descriptive statistics, nothing we are using to describe or summarize our data. When you want to summarize your data, you need to perform descriptive statistics on the data, right? Now, what methods comes under this? So maybe you have heard about measures of central tendency, measures of dispersion, right? Like mean, median, mode, standard deviation, then skewness, kurtosis, then variance, etc. Right? So this is the way of understanding the nature of our data, and that way we can decide whether the data is fit for the parametric test or whether it is unfit for the parametric test, right? So after cleaning, this is the next step which we do. So for that, you need to go to the analyze. After that, you can go to the descriptive statistics, and then suppose I am selecting here the descriptives, right? Once I click on this, a dialog box will appear. I'm shifting my income variable into the variables box. Done. After this, you need to click on the options button, and there you can find some of the basic descriptives like the mean, sum, standard deviation, maximum and minimum is by default selected. Now, if I want to get the skewness and kurtosis also, that I can select from here, right? And then once I'll click on continue, I'll be back on the previous dialog box. Here I need to click on the OK button. Yeah, I hope it is visible, the output window.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, you can find here in this window, we are getting the various statistics for the income variable. It is showing me first column is N is means statistic, that is number of observations. So we are having total 30 observations for income variable. Minimum income is 16,950. Maximum is 1,35,000. Mean statistics is 38,274.17. Standard deviation of or in the income is 24,701.845. Skewness value is 2.837 and the kurtosis value is 8.857. Now looking at the skewness value and the kurtosis value, we can see we can comment on the normality of the data, right? Once I will talk about the skewness. Skewness is what? It's a symmetry in the data from the mean. Whether your data is symmetrical to your mean or not. Means suppose mean is at the middle. So your 50% data should be at the left hand side of or right hand side of the mean, and 50% data should be at the left hand side of the mean. So this is the meaning of this skewness, right? So what should be the threshold value for this skewness? It is 0. The skewness value should be 0 if you want that there is symmetry in your data. So this value should be 0. Kurtosis is the one more characteristics of the normal distribution. Skewness and kurtosis both are belonging to the normal distribution, right? So kurtosis, if it is more than 3, so we can say your data is leptokurtic data. Means there is a I don't know how many of you have seen the normal distribution curve, bell-shaped curve. Have you seen any idea?
Yes, ma'am, I have seen.
Yes. So if you have seen, ma'am, we know this thing that there is a horizontal line, right, like this, and above that there is a bell-shaped curve, right? So if
Yes,
the
ma'am.
distance is more in the bell and the x-axis, this is known as leptokurtic data. But when the distance is very, very less, very means your curve is very near to your x-axis, this is known as the platykurtic data. And in case of platykurtic data, kurtosis value is negative. But in our case, we can find kurtosis value is positive, and it is very big value, more than 3, right? Not nearby 3, it is more than 3, and it is around 8.857, almost near to 9. That means their data is very, very, what I can say, kurtotic. That is leptokurtic data. Means there is a gap in the x-axis and in the bell-shaped curve. That means there are so many outliers available in your data. This is the meaning of this. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am. And ma'am, if our curve would have been normally distributed or the shape of the curve would be bell-shaped, similar to the normal distribution, then what should be the value of statistics under kurtosis?
3.
Okay, ma'am. If the
Kurtosis should
value
be 3. Skewness should be 0 for the normal distribution.
Okay, okay. And if the value for kurtosis is 3, that means our data is normally distributed. Okay.
Yes. Right? So this is the thing which you can perform. Apart from that, few more things we can do. We can go to the analyze, descriptive statistics, and this time I'm selecting explore. Shifting income into the dependent list, and I'm clicking on the plots button. I want to create a histogram and the box plot using this. I'll click on continue. I'll click on the now OK button. Suppose I want to only see the plots. So you can see in the display, when by default it is both. Both means it will give you the statistics also. It will give you the plots also. But I don't want to get the descriptive statistics for my data. I only want to see the plots, right? So I will click on the OK. Visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Now you can see, as I think we are having only very limited data, 30 observations we are having. So that is why this bell-shaped curve is not, histogram is not looking good, right? But still, if I want to comment on the, what I can say, the skewness part or all, you can find. If I will keep a bell-shaped curve on this, so our right tail will be larger than our left tail, right? So how I can keep that bell-shaped curve on this in the SPSS? You can double click on this. Then you need to put this in this particular bar. You can find there is this bell-shaped curve or normal curve. You can put this. So this is coming. This you need to close. This is also you need to close, and you can see. Now you will be able to see a bell-shaped curve, and now you can compare your tails. So the right tail is larger than the left tail, right? That means most of the data points are coming on the right side. Is it okay? This is known as your data is positively skewed data. Is it fine?
Yes, ma'am.
Going down, this is known as the box plot. Box plot is having 5 components. What are the 5 components? You can see the middle line, that darker line in the box, within the box, this middle line. This is known as the median of the data. So once you will extend this line, so wherever it is touching on this axis, that will be the median value of your data, right? The lower line of this box is known as first quartile. The upper line of the box is known as the third quartile, right? Now, this area means above, this is the above upper line of the box. So above this area is known as the upper whisker. This area is known as the lower whiskers, right? So beyond this, if any observations are falling, those observations are known as the outlier in our data, right? Outlier means the distinct value which is not matching with your remaining data points. There is very far distance from the observation of that particular data set is known as the outlier in the data, right? So you can find almost all the observations are falling here. 28 observations are falling beyond this particular range, but 2 of the observations are going here. You can find these are known as the outlier in the data, right? So both the outliers are at the right hand side. Is it okay? Fine.
Yes, ma'am.
So observation means respondent 18 and respondent 29 income. These 2 incomes are the outlier for your. So respondents 18 and respondent number 29. These are outlier in our data. If you are dropping this, maybe it will improve the skewness as well as the kurtosis of your data. Right? Okay, clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Apart from that, what extra you can do with the SPSS? As I said, you can go to the analyze. Let me check what data I'm having in the sheet. Accordingly, I'll tell you. Okay. Suppose I want to compare the income of male or female, right? Income is given here. 1 and 2 is written in the center column. So anyone who can tell me what will be the hypothesis if I want to compare the income of male and female? What hypothesis I can make? Anyone?
Income of males are greater than female members.
Okay. Fine. Okay, ma'am. Thank you. So generally, this hypothesis also we can create, or also we can make there is no significant difference in the mean income of male and female, right? That also we can make. If the hypothesis is whatever ma'am said or whatever I said we have created, for this hypothesis, which test we can perform if I want to compare the salary of male and female? Yes. Which test I need to perform? Anyone?
Parametric tests.
Okay. In parametric test category, which test, ma'am?
T-test.
T-test. Okay. In T-test category, which T-test? I think there are 3 T-tests. One sample, independent samples, and dependent samples. So which I can use?
Independent people.
Independent T-test. Very correct. Because we are having the 2 groups available or 2 samples available. Male employee sample and suppose male respondent sample and female respondent sample. So both the samples are independent to each other, right? And we want to make comparison in that. So when you are comparing the 2 groups which are independent in nature, you are using the independent samples T-test, right? So for performing this, you can go to the analyze. You can go to the compare means. You can select the independent samples T-test. You can shift your test variable, which is income, in the test variable box, you can shift gender into the grouping variable box. You can define the groups as we have coded as 1 and 2, and then continue, and nothing you need to do, only you need to press on the OK button. So this will be the output. So looking at the t value, looking at the significant value, you can comment whether you are accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis of the test, right? So that way you can make your decision of acceptance and rejection of the hypothesis. So I think this is the very basic thing which I have performed here, or tried to convey you people that how you can work with the SPSS. So this is a very easy software. I'm going to now conclude my session. So today in the session, I tried to discuss with you the interface of SPSS. We have tried to understand the concept of variable types, measurement scales. We have seen the interface of SPSS. Then I tried to explain you how to define variable, what are the various characteristics while defining the variable name. After defining the variable name, we have seen if we want to enter the data manually, that we can do. If you want to import the data from any of the sources, that also you can bring in the SPSS, right? Then we have seen some of the transformations on the data. We have seen computing of a new variable with the existing variables. Then we have seen the descriptive statistics, how we can perform using SPSS, how we can interpret the output. And I tried to explain you the further thing that the graph, that is histogram, and the box plot, we can create, how we can interpret them. And lastly, the independent samples details. So I think in this session, this is all from my side. Now the platform is open for questions and answers. If you're having any, you please ask. Yes. Anything you want to ask me regarding analysis part? Yes. Anything?
No, ma'am. Thank you so
Ah,
much. You have explained in a very clear way, and I think everything clear. So no question.
Thank you so
Thank you
much,
so much.
Samanya.
Yes,
Are
ma'am.
there
Very
any
happy.
questions?
Sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Nothing, ma'am. I was just saying it was a very helpful session and very good session. Very informative. Thank you so much for it.
Thank you so much, Chanakya, ma'am. Your name is very pretty.
Ma'am, actually, it is
Chainika.
Chainika.
Chainika, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Like,
Thank you,
it's
ma'am.
very pretty. I think I have heard for the first time.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes. Any other question? No question to anyone?
sorry, ma'am. Actually, it is a very good session that we got many informations regarding the SPSS and how to use it and measure it and all. Only thing that what I feel, as long as we can't do in laptop, I don't think so. I mean, practically we'll learn everything, whatever you have said or
Yeah.
explained
Yeah.
in this presentation.
Sir, it is
Because
very clear
SPSS,
because I think this was a demo session kind of thing, right? So I only showed you the interface, although as it is a online session, so I need to tell you also how it works. That I tried to explain. But in FDPs, like SPSS FDP, generally RFI conducts the FDP on SPSS and other softwares also. So there, generally the mentors or the people, those are experts, those who are teaching all these kind of things. So they generally ask you priorly to download the software, and then along with the sessions, you can do the hands-on.
exactly, ma'am. You are right, ma'am. You are right.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the session, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes. Anything else?
Ma'am, then shall we end this session?
Yeah, Ashmi ma'am, from my side, I am done. If any questions or any problems or anything the participant wants to ask me, then I'm available, or else we can end the session.
So, does anybody have any questions? Okay, then, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashmi ma'am. Ajay sir, thank you. Thank you, everyone present over here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ritika ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for such a wonderful session. It
Thank
was
you.
really